Hi, this is Catherine Moore, and I am continuing to cover in this episode the Safe Sanctuary Policy for the Texas Annual Conference of the United Methodist Church and the United Methodist Denomination in Houston, Texas. I am going to be covering page 3 of 11 of the Safe Sanctuary Policy. Okay. The event leader, the conference or district representative who is tasked with organizing and implementing the event. This person is responsible for coordinating with the host church or the conference's safe sanctuary staff representative to ensure all caregivers receive a background check and training on the conference safe sanctuary policies and follow the policies. Also, this person is responsible for ensuring that at least one adult who is trained and certified in first aid and CPR will be present at the event. I can tell you for a fact that the churches within the Texas Annual Conference Administration and the Texas Annual Conference Administration do not follow this policy. They do not follow the Safe Sanctuary Policy. It's words on paper, nothing more. In fact, the person who is tasked with organizing and implementing an event, this person is responsible for coordinating the host. Okay, the supervised visitation with the Domestic Relations Office, they didn't have a clue what Safe Sanctuary was. They are not required to know Safe Sanctuary. And the co-workers who are monitoring the parents in the supervised visitation, they are not required. They don't know what Safe Sanctuary is. And why doesn't it apply to them? I don't know. I mean, it should apply to them. That's what this policy is about. But it doesn't. And who else would know about this? Elijah Stansel would. Because I had a conversation with Elijah Stansel about this. The leader must be 21 years of age or older. Well, the people that work for the Domestic Relations Office, the employees of the Domestic Relations Office that monitor the parents for the supervised visitation, a lot of times they don't wear name tags. We don't have a clue who they are. We don't know who they are. We're not allowed to ask questions. We don't know who they are. And they can do whatever they want to us, but there's nothing we can do. We can't speak out against it, because guess what? If you do, you'll be just like me, and you won't be allowed to see your kids. So, because I can't see my kids because I was sexually harassed in front of my sons. And, I was sexually harassed in front of the staff of St. Stephen's United Methodist Church, and they did absolutely nothing about it. They should have known what the Safe Sanctuary Policy was. They knew what it was, but I guess it didn't apply to them. Or maybe it was because Gwen Adams said that any allegations of abuse that come from me are just hearsay. They're not relevant. Anybody else, they will take it serious, but for me, they will not take it serious. That's basically what she told me. I have the recorded conversation. So, I mean, makes me wonder if the Texas Annual Conference told her to tell me that. We also don't know the ages of these people that are working for the Domestic Relations Office. We don't know their ages, but they don't have a problem sharing the personal information of the families within the Domestic Relations Office with staff of the United Methodist churches that they are having these visitation sites at. Assistant leader must be 18 years of age or older, not in high school, and supervised by a leader. Child care provider must be 18 years of age or older and not in high school. Conference Safe Sanctuary staff representative appointed by the Texas Annual Conference's Center for Connectional Resources. Conference Safe Sanctuary cabinet representative appointed by the Bishop of the Texas Annual Conference. Conference Safe Sanctuary, okay, I've read that. Related. For the purpose of these policies, related means by blood, parent, grandparent, sibling, etc., or relationship, step family, dating, cohabitating, etc. Abuse. Gosh, something about that word abuse sounds familiar. I don't know. The Texas Annual Conference follows the State of Texas Family Code. Really? Well, that's news to me. The following list of types of abuse is not exhaustive, nor is it intended to limit this policy, but is provided to educate. Number 1, verbal abuse. You mean like Gwen Adams telling me that any allegations that come from me are not relevant? That any allegations that come from me are just hearsay, but they will take allegations from anyone else serious, except for me. Any verbal act that humiliates, degrades, or threatens any protected person. Like my mother calling me a joke the night that she admitted to drugging me so that my father, who was a United Methodist minister, could sexually assault me when I was a child. I mean, that could possibly be one example, you know. 2, physical abuse, physical injury intentionally inflicted upon a person. Like a Methodist minister's wife drugging their child when she's in elementary school so that she can be sexually assaulted by her father, who is a United Methodist minister, by perpetrating sexual trauma on her. Neglect, failure to provide for a protected person's basic needs or take action to safeguard a protected person. Sexual abuse. Gosh, that sounds familiar. I don't know why. Any sexual contact. Oh, this gets interesting. Indecency or activity of a sexual nature with a protected person. Like a sexual assault survivor of a United Methodist minister who was forced to visit her kids at a United Methodist church that's under the Texas Annual Conference Administration, who employed the man who sexually assaulted her, who was her father, repeatedly sexually assaulted me. Not just one time, repeated. Emotional, psychological abuse. You mean like a Methodist minister gaslighting you to believe that you are bipolar when they are not qualified to diagnose, when they are not qualified to treat psychiatric patients, or like when they want you to agree to go on a specific medication, but they are not qualified to prescribe that medication or make a clinical diagnosis. Or when a United Methodist minister agrees to baptize your kids, and after you have the baptism scheduled, she attacks your mental health when you know your child is in an abusive situation, and bells on the baptism, and people in the church think that there was something wrong with you, because that is how the Texas Annual Conference sees anyone who is abused. Well, there's something wrong with them. I mean, ew, there's just something wrong with them, that I don't want to be around them. They were abused because something was wrong with them. So let's not acknowledge them. Emotional, psychological abuse, a mental or emotional injury to a protected person that results in a material impairment in their growth, development, or psychological functioning. You mean like my 16-year-old who is not receiving psychiatric treatment and wants his 10-year-old brother to die? And his 10-year-old brother has had to live in fear for his life? You mean like that? You mean like when Harrison Fisher told me that the Texas Annual Conference would assist my ex-husband, Carly Anthony, in getting our kids away from me, and say that I was mentally ill and couldn't take care of them, but they were going to help a man who is a child abuser, which is not a big surprise, because since they have a history of employing child predators in their administration, I mean, I'm quite well aware of their lack of ethics and integrity when it comes to the safety of children. Let's see, financial exploitation abuse. You mean like when the beneficiary check of my mother's death is withheld from me to the point that it is almost forfeited and placed in an unlabeled folder? Like that? Or is it when Harrison Fisher, who has also been associated with the Texas Conference and has worked for them in the past, withholds my SUV from me for 7 months, and I don't have a car, and I become homeless because I don't have transportation to get to work. I mean, that could be one, you know? Or because I find it hard to find a job because I'm exposing a multi-billion-dollar administration that retaliated against me for exposing their history of employing child molesters. Oh, I've got another one. Let's see. It slipped my mind. I have brain fog, so some things can just leave my mind, you know. It's the cognitive decline. Anyway. Okay. Financial exploitation abuse, the illegal or improper use of resources of a protected person for monetary or personal benefit, profit, or gain, including using another person's social security number or other identifying information without the informed consent of that person or their parent or guardian. Also, what I was going to say is, the supervised visitation made it difficult for me to find a job. Jobs don't want to work around the visitation. They don't. Also, I have a background in childcare. I'm not a child abuser. But I don't want to be around kids now. After what happened to me, I have no interest in being around kids. Child abusers want to be around kids. I don't want to be around kids. I don't want to touch kids. And it's been hard to get work. I was out of work for a week when I went and was treated in a psychiatric unit for post-traumatic stress disorder after I was forced to visit my kids at a United Methodist Church that was under the same administration that employed the Texas Annual Conference, who has a history of employing child molesters, one of them being my father. And I was also sexually harassed in front of my kids in a fellowship hall of St. Stephen's United Methodist Church. Okay. Spiritual religious abuse. Oh, okay, here's a good one. Like when you are rejected from the denomination that you grew up in because you were sexually abused. But they allow clergy who were accused of sexual harassment to come back and be employed under their administration again. But if you were sexually abused by one of their clergy, you are not welcome. You are nothing more than garbage to them. Spiritual or religious abuse refers to psychological manipulation and harm inflicted on a person by using the teaching of their religion. This is perpetrated by members of the same or similar faith, including the use of a position of authority within the religion. Let me tell you another form of spiritual abuse. Being forced to visit your kids through supervised visitation based on false accusations in a United Methodist Church that is under the Texas Annual Conference administration that employed my father, John Chester Dowden, who sexually assaulted me repeatedly. And I also had to go through sexual harassment in front of my kids and in front of the staff of St. Stephen's United Methodist Church in Houston on West 43rd Street, and in front of the staff of the Domestic Relations Office of Harris County, and nothing was done about it. And since then, I want nothing to do with the Christian faith. Bullying, behavior intended to intimidate, offend, humiliate, or harm another person physically or psychologically. You mean like retaliating against a woman who was sexually assaulted by a clergy of the Texas Annual Conference and retaliating against her? And retaliating against her in the family court system? You mean like that? I mean, that could be one example. Or withholding the beneficiary check from her until it was almost forfeited. In the meantime, she walked 5 months, 2 miles a day, 5 months in the middle of the night to work in a dangerous part of Houston. In fact, I have videos, live videos on Facebook. They may have been deleted, where I walked in a bad part of Houston for 5 months to get to work because I didn't have transportation, because I didn't have a car that worked, because one of the cars that I had was withheld from me for 7 months by Harrison Fisher, who has also in the past been involved with the Texas Annual Conference, and did not inform me that he had also worked as a local pastor, and I'm sure didn't inform Alicia Provost Whitfield that he had at one time worked as a local pastor for United Methodist Church. I found that out later on. Bullying, behavior intended to intimidate, offend, humiliate, or harm another person physically or psychologically. This can include offensive name-calling, abusive language, acts or threats of physical abuse, vandalism, theft, or destruction of property. That's all I have.